We're live. Okay. Let me just... Put that there. Get it a bit more in line. Okay. Okay. We're good. We're good. Time to... Time to get the old TikTok going. Cat, how you doing? Oh, I'm just umming and ahhing about TikTok, whether to get this start the troubles. I tell you, I was uploading that Murphy's. It was taking forever to upload that Murphy's short. The internet is so terrible. And then my kettle took forever to boil. Isn't it? Whenever you're waiting for something, whenever you've got a deadline, you've got maybe a couple of minutes, and you're waiting for the kettle to boil or waiting for something to upload. It just feels like it takes forever, but the clock goes faster. Oh, I don't know. Oh, one of those nights. Right. How are we all doing? How are we all doing? Do we do it? Do we chat? Do we chance around and get the TikTok? Yeah, just saw it. Good. Yeah. I mean, I was umming and ahhing whether a bit like McCarthy's, how there's multiple branches. So sometimes, depending on the video, you'll sometimes see that I do like a brief couple of seconds on each branch, or I'll focus on a specific area for a video, and it really all has everything to do with how much information is on the branches. With the McCarthy's, because every sort of branch of the McCarthy's is pretty well documented, you just can't do each branch justice, whereas only two of the Murphys are sort of well documented, with centuries of information. So I break it down, but yeah, it's just it's annoying thing about streamers. Why do you always stream when I'm drunk? I purposely wait outside your window, Fionn, and then once I realise you're drunk enough, I come home and stream. I do it on purpose. Sorum, how you doing? How? We have to get another membership. Well, also to be fair to you, my streaming schedule's been so messed up this last month, ridiculously crazy, and it all came down to some stupid YouTube settings that I was unaware of. They never sort of explain it to you. You have to go looking for all this sort of stuff. Okay, actually I wanted to try something. Apparently, while I'm here, I want. There's a gift membership thing that I was meant to be. I looked at it and it says I have to turn on gift memberships. Hang on. YouTube, turn on. Give it a second. Give me a second, and it says go to live. Oh, pushing wrong buttons. I'm away till bed in a few ticks, but I'll listen for a few minutes until my incense candle runs out. No worries at all, Fionn. Well, I'll try and get straight into the content as best I can then, and then you can at least have something to listen to. Go to YouTube Live, stream premiere, yeah. What? Oh yeah, okay. Oh right, okay. Oh, I did not know this. There's wee buttons here that I did not know about on the live chat. That's so cool. But we'll have to do it in order. Hi, there's a branch of O'Connell's in Sligo. Sub branch, sub. group of RM222. So strong northwest origins. Do you know anything about them? No, you don't have to worry. Look. You don't need to. It, don't stop throwing me money. I only waste it on books. Oh, go away, Discord. My Discord is telling me that I didn't even know I had my Discord set up here on my PC. Yeah, don't worry about it. Look, YouTube's fine. YouTube, you hear me? YouTube, that's good enough for me. That's good enough for me. Yeah, you don't have to be throwing me money. Actually, although books are bloody expensive, I spent about what was it, 90 odd pound on a book the other day, and I'm still waiting for it to arrive from America. It was the worst. Well, it's not the worst, but it was. I felt it. I felt that. I felt the pinch. Sorry, Sean. We were. Sounds is soft. Am I too quiet? Maybe I need to lean in more. I don't know. Oh, it's because I was looking away. I was looking at my cup of coffee as I was talking, and the microphone. So the microphone was behind my head. Anyway, sorry. The Sean. Yes, there's I don't know any with the DNA side of it, or the strong West origins of of um like that sort of side, but there are kernels from Fermanagh, I believe, that come from Clan Congo. So I don't think they're definitely not going to be on this terrible map. But yeah, so I would imagine maybe if they're Fermanagh, Sligo, it wouldn't be outside the realms of relationship. Although one thing I must say is that actually very few Fermanagh families do sort of migrate in that direction. Most of this sort of area, most of them of the main families that came to dominate Sligo and Roscommon and Breffna, Leitrim is sort of the hub of that group. But there is, yeah, like I said, there's an O'Connell family, O'Connell's from Fermanagh. So yeah, I mean the so they could be related to them. I'm one. Breffney Gale, don't even question me. I mean, I might question the numbers. I might question the 1,099%. 10,099. I can't even read that. Does that mean I got 100,000? 100,099%. I might question that percentage. No, I'm a mix of everything. On these isles, I've got every gene pool: Scottish, Welsh, English, Irish. So I've got it all. So when I start giving jip to one of the branches, namely the English, it comes from love. It comes from love. Um, because I have some English ancestors in there for all my sins. Um, Are there Leinster McCarthy? Yeah, so it's the O'Carthys from Leinster, but they anglicised their name to McCarthy. So you do, yeah, you get you have an O'Carthy branch in Leinster, and South Leinster. Boop 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 boop. So around the Wicklow region. Um, Sure, in about 500 years, assuming you stay in one place, we will all form our own genetic clusters. Hopefully, it'll become Gaelic. I Sorry. I don't mind what culture. Well, not I not so much culture. I mean, like the political existence of Northern Ireland and the Republic and UK or whatever. And who immigrates to there or emigrates out. It doesn't bother me as long as um, Irish history is protected and preserved for future generations. I don't care who's reading it. They could be Somalian, and they're learning Irish history, and that's good enough for me. I like the preservation of stuff, but worlds and cultures and languages and people all change. Nothing's ever been static in our history, and it's a bit naive to think it'll stay that way. But and I certainly hope there's more of a revival of the Irish language. It definitely needs more protection than it's got. You have the same name as me. I also have Scandinavian as well. Is that aimed at me? Are you a Doyle, Nicola? Uh, I'm quarter Scandinavian. I apparently have Scandinavian heritage in somewhere, but that was from autosomal testing, so it can be from any branch. To be fair, most people will get their in Ireland will actually get their Scandinavian heritage from Scotland or England. The genetic footprint in Ireland was very small comparative to the rest of the Isles of Ireland and Britain. So, but most of they had huge impacts in England and Scotland. So, and obviously then we had these migrations into our area. We also the other problem they also have is that it's very hard to distinguish between Scandinavian groups, people from the Netherlands, and pre Scandinavian Germanic groups. It's very hard to sort of distinguish between those, and so DNA testing I know is coming on leaps and bounds. But if you're using anything like Ancestry.com, then their autosomal testing's very, very. It's a very basic test. You want to be doing something like Y-DNA testing. Um, so yeah, my I am separately Scandinavian. Yeah, well, I mean, you're from. I hope you don't mind. You're from the United States, anyway. Which obviously has a bit more of a well documented diaspora, or not diaspora, immigration, and yeah, it seems with any of those sort of the Australias, any of the newer countries in the world, they sort of um, you just have your separate immigration groups. I know sort of like I remember seeing a map of the United States, and it sort of showed the areas the Germans sort of settled, and the Danish settled, and the Irish and Scots, and the Spanish. Um, but obviously, the United States also has quite a transitory population based on its heritage. Its history's always been like that. So, where someone in the United States wouldn't think anything of driving 10 hours up the road, going 4 states up or whatever, uh, you don't find that in Europe. Um, uh, Mulcahy in America here. Hello, Jenny, Miss Jenny. Any ideas when my last name may have originated? I heard it came from Tipperary. Yeah, so there's Mulcahy's abbreviation of a couple of families. So because you've got it basically means like anything with mull in it is like devotee. So it'll be the devotee of Cahy. Now I don't know every saint in in Ireland, obviously. So you'll have to forgive me. It's probably something that doesn't even resemble Cahy now, but back in whenever they were anglicising it sort of turned to that. But Yeah, so the any descendant of Cahy will be associated with any of his churches. Now, most saints founded more than one church, so you'll always get wherever his church can be found. The Cahy devotee, wherever his churches are found, you'll have sort of those hubs of the surname, um, and then you'll just have families who um, adopted that because it became their uh, patron saint. So again, that's why you'll often find multiple sort of variations of it. But yeah, it's found, like I said, it's found in Munster. Hang on, should be. I'm just talking into my chat, but I'm not pointing it out. So it's found in South Tipperary and Munster, which, like I say, it's but it's just found in Munster. I don't know of any sort of areas, but yeah, South Tipperary and Munster is the two sort of areas of it. Um, so that's how your name sort of came to exist. No, I'm a Henry from my dad's side and McNeely from my not mum's side. Ah, yeah, right. Harvey is apparently an Orkney surname that was translated into Norse from Gaelic. I did not know that. I did not know that. Very interesting. I look forward to reading that. Anything on Lynch? Yeah, I cover Lynch most nights. Lynch. Lynch has a few branches. So Lynch and Lindsay are from the same name, O'Loinza, O'Loinzuk, and yeah, very famously had a branch of Lynches here who are part of the Dalriada. Um, so North Antrim, or just Antrim, and then uh, you had a smaller group here in what is known as Fanad in Donegal, and then they are related to the Kinoconnell, so they're related to the O'Donnells, and then you have probably the most famous one is the Lynches of Galway, who are a they claim Irish descent, but that seems to be a later claim. But they could have been English, Irish, then English, Norman, then Irish again, because a lot of families did sort of try to remove their Irish heritage um, in the 15th, 16th, 17th century. So, but yeah, they were one of the 14 tribes of Galway, which were 14 merchant families in dominant merchant families who dominated the mercantile and political life of Galway. But there's a debate whether there was a Lindsay Lynch family outside of Galway um, that were unrelated, but sort of the both would use each other's name to their own benefit. But that one's out there. That one's out for debate at the minute. Bring back our diaspora. Could you imagine us with like 90 million people? um, I mean, the problem is that I love our diaspora, but you know, they I think they're far removed from what I would consider uh, the way we think, the way we look at the world, and that's because their world that they're looking at now is totally different. So it's understandable, but to bring that sort of mindset back in such a huge wave, I think would really upset a lot of balances within the island. So, uh, yeah, I would be against that. Although I'm more than happy for those who wish to come back to come back. Just let's not make it in a wave of 90 million people. Lauren with 800,000 people. Oh yeah. Well, to be fair, Lauren could do with another few people in it to expand the gene pool. Did you ever notice all the Donegal and also seeing surnames around Acom? Names like Gallagher, Donald, Corrigan, Carver. Did you ever notice all the Donegal also? I mean, yeah, I've got a on one of my videos. I did some research. I don't know which video it was, to be fair, but I think it's the Battle of Ballyshannon. I literally wrote down and like so many, all the surnames I could find, but not all the variations of it, obviously. Just the primary variations of each one in each barony. And so I've seen every surname that exists in Donegal. Actually, Donegal's was the very sort of first area I ever started researching for surnames, because I used to go there every summer. So um, my great grandparents on my dad's side were from Magra. My mum and dad are both born in Derry, but my great grandparents on my own side were from Carrickfergus. Not sure. Um, if that's what, yeah, there you go, there you go. Fion's put it, the anglicised spelling, the spelling that exists today for Carrickfergus up here. I knew I spelled it wrong. Fion. Ah, you're right. You're trying to spell an Irish word that's been anglicised. It's technically the way it's spelled is wrong too. So, right. I think it's time we should let you have had me all to yourselves for 20 minutes, YouTube. My parents' ancestors are O'Doyle. Gypsy Rose, I'm a Doyle. It was never actually O'Doyle. Anyone who's got an O in front of Doyle, that's a more recent. I mean, it was O'Donegal in its original Gaelic form, but all O'Dovegals dropped the O as they anglicised their name to Doyle, Darl. All the O's for Doyle came in the 19th century Gaelic revival. So what happened was, in the 19th century we had the Gaelic revival, which was spurred on by nationalistic movements all over the world, and a lot of Irish tried to reclaim sort of our heritage as it was, and a lot of people changed their names back to what they thought their names had been, but a lot of names have been changed 100, 200 years ago, so there's a bit of a gap in it. There's also the fact that a lot of names were anglicised the same way, so we were speaking about this before, like McCarthy's, and if you look at the McCarthy's, there's actually three origin points. They descend from Cara, Carrick, and Carthag, so from individuals with those names. So you think, but they've all become McCarthy, because people have changed their name back because of the way it's been translated. Yeah. So the O is I mean, it's fine to have. It's something wrong. uh, uh, Yeah, I was told that Henry name used to be O. Henry until someone back in the family dropped the O. Again, yeah, so it happened both ways. Actually, so I don't know where you're from, Nicola. Uh, uh, but a lot of people, were dropping the O's and mucks in Ireland beforehand, before they moved to the likes of Australia or America, and then so you had these people dropping them for anglicising their name as they were integrating into the new English establishment after the Tudor conquest. But there had been lots of laws in place beforehand to sort of anglicise Irish names. But then a lot of people went to the problem is that the Irish very early on were abolitionists primarily, and very in tune with sort of like the African American civil rights movements, and stuff like this all through history. So the problem they found was that they were being associated with these groups, and all the sort of hysteria and politics that happened around it on both sides, that people were dropping the O and mucks in places like America because they didn't want to be associated with the fallback that happens when you associate yourself with these movements. So yeah, um, if you associate yourself with something that's causing political problems, you don't want to be associated with it. Whether you support it or not, you don't want anyone to be coming back at your house because you're, um, disagreeing with the political scene that's happening at the time. I'm going to hit the hay. Enjoy the stream. Your favorite subscriber. Thanks, Fionn. You're definitely up there. Top 50 maybe. um, whoops, hit send too soon. O'Doyle, O'Halloran, O'Connor, Henbury, and my great grandparents side. I'm Australian born. My parents are. Yes, I've got family in Australia too, and New Zealand. Yeah, a lot of names there. I'll give you 3 minutes. So, O'Doyle obviously depends. There's like my branches here, and they're totally unrelated to the more numerous and famous branch, which is Leinster. There's one that claim to be a branch of the Orions of Idrone, so you're sort of Tipperary, but that's unsubstantiated. O'Halloran tends to be on the borders of Clare and Galway, and there's also an Ulster branch. Who else do you have? Henneberry. I don't know Henneberry, unfortunately. I've not come across that name in my time. But O'Connors, there's a lot of O'Connors too. You've got the Connacht line, you've got the Clare line, you've got the O'Connor Kerry, you've got the O'Connor Feelies that are over here, and then you've got the O'Connors of Derry. These are the only 3 that are related out of all those O'Connors. So, I'm Nuada, Tuathanam. Yeah, I'm not even going to pronounce half of that because my Gilgar is absolutely atrocious. Yeah, it's obviously most historians discredit the origin story of our from the Book of Invasions. They don't tend to agree with it in its current form. Some would argue that it's a echo of previous migrations from actual migration groups from the Bronze Age, and that any historical figures mentioned in the Book of Invasions are more than likely things like gods that have been sort of humanized thanks to the church. No, humans that were deified, and vice versa. So most of the Book of Invasions is obviously not substantiated. So you've got to be careful whenever you sort of assume that you're descended from one of these individuals. It's a bit like saying I'm descended from Cuchulainn, an individual from 3,000 years ago. It's a bit unlikely. But if you are descended from that person, I'm never going to say never. I wouldn't be one to try and shatter anyone's dreams on that. It's. I'm just saying from a historian's viewpoint, they wouldn't agree. So that's just. I always feel bad saying stuff like that. It's like almost like you're lying, but I'm not saying you're lying. I'm just saying from an academic point of view. But that's the good thing about academics. It's academia. It's always moving. It's always maybe we'll find out some more stuff in the future. Have you any information on shields? I do. I do have information on shields. I'm not giving it to you. No. Yeah. So shields is primarily a associated with Ulster. I they're going to appear briefly on one of my videos in the near future, but they were hereditary physicians found in most parts of Ireland, but they're associated with Archella and Inishowen. So Inishowen's up here, and Archella is here. So they're the two areas that they're associated with. But they claim to say, so what's probably happened is they're from the Kinlowen, and as the O'Neill of the Fews have come down here and settled, they've been given land in here. They've just moved with the migration of the O'Neills. What about the surname Cian? O'Cahan? There's a lot of Cians in Ireland. O'Cahan is probably the most famous of these groups, but there are groups found in Munster that are normally anglicised to Keen, South Munster. They're normally anglicised to Keen, but you can still get Cian from Keen. But the O'Cahans, Cians from Derry, North Derry, are probably the most famous and most numerous. Yes, they're not supposed to be real, semi-mythical. Yes, so that's it. I just have to be very wary when I had a lovely gentleman telling me about how his family were descended from a Spanish sailor wrecked up from the Armada, and I had to tell him that that was probably unlikely, more in the case of unlikely than likely. And I kind of felt bad because you feel like you're destroying these family myths, and it's a Gaelic tradition almost to build up myths about family histories. Every Gaelic family and Scottish family, Gaelic and Gaelic and the Border Reivers, that sort of Scotland, Ireland, have long histories of family origins and these great stories behind them. The Armstrongs became Armstrongs because they, saved Robert Bruce from a boar and put him on a horse with one arm. I mean, no evidence for that whatsoever. No mention of it anywhere, apart from maybe 200 years, 300 years after the supposed event. And I always feel bad because you're like, no, that probably didn't happen. And it's like, well, some people have really enjoy that. Gaelic storytelling is so intrinsic in Gaelic culture that to sit here and go, yeah, well, that didn't happen, yeah, like some beardy nerd is I feel bad. So I try not to say never, because like I say, it's so intrinsic to our culture, these sort of stories, that they may not have happened in the physical sense, but certainly our families believed them and were telling these stories to their kids for generations. I think it's just as important as the surname itself. So that is my view on it. Right, let's get TikTok up and running, because you have had me for 40 minutes to yourself, YouTube. You have had me all to yourself. And although I love YouTube, it's a lot slower talking. I get to chat, I get to waffle, I get to read all your comments. I do also have a business to run and need to get that exposure. So here it goes, right? And I did see your comment. Whoever just commented there a minute ago, I did see it, but I haven't read it. But I will get to it before I start speaking to anyone on TikTok. Just let me set up the TikTok, because what we have to do. Do do do. I think this is right. That looks all good. There's the chat there. All set up. Get it off the screen. Okay, so who was it? Oh, it's Sorum. I was wondering about Carragher through South Armagh in 19th century. Is this the origin? Yeah, so Carragher's always been associated with Southern Ulster. Carragher's always been you're looking around Archella, the kingdom, the ancient medieval kingdom of Archella, so South Armagh, Monaghan. So yeah, so if you're finding individuals there from the 19th century, they've probably been there for centuries, to be fair. So Carragher is a South Ulster surname. Um, so yeah, it's your family. If you've got those sort of families, then you they've just been there the whole time. Would you know when the Fergusons first came over from Scotland into Ireland? So the Fergusons would have more than likely they're not associated with the so the first migrations from obviously we have the kingdom of Dariata going across to Scotland, and there's a lot of micro transactions of people happening in the early medieval period. This is before the existence of surnames that we would recognize today. Irish surnames are patronymic, so you're just taking your father's name as a surname, and that just carries on for generations. Um, so the Ferguson's surname starts to appear in it's around the 11th, 12th century. So by this stage, there's not really the it's about the 12th century we start to see Scots coming back across to Ireland in the form of gallowglass, in large sort of groups. When I say large, it's still quite small in terms of a migration group, but we have seasonal warriors coming across here. The Fergusons aren't really associated with um, being gallowglass, but and they're not associated with the MacDonalds who come across in the 14th century taking lands from the Bissau. So, which means that probably most of them come across in the early modern period with the plantations of Ulster. Um, so that's how you um, you you get them. So coming across from Scotland to Ireland. Geoditch, I'm Liam. Is slang shortened for William? Yes, it is. Well, I don't want to say slang, but it is shortened for William. Yes. Um, are the O'Haras and Gars related in same origin? Yes, the O'Haras and the O'Gars are from the same exact same branch, from the Fiacre. So they're part of the Fiacre. So the O'Hara and Gar, and apparently the O'Haras of Antrim are the same branch of the O'Haras, but that could be just a what you call it, just family trying to claim link to a bigger family. Okay, hang on, right. Oh, TikTok's going bad. Hang on, TikTok is always so quick. So give me 2 seconds, 2 seconds to settle in, and just sort of take it in. Hang on. I'm trying to see. McAlpin is obviously the surname of the early medieval period Scottish joint Scottish royal households from the Pictish line and the Gaelic line. It wasn't Gaelic by that stage. And they were from the MacAlpins, but the royal line died out, and the Alpin was obviously a very common name. So when you have a royal dynasty or royal individual, you will find that a lot of people will take give his children their surnames, and that's how the MacAlpins will be. There'll be a lot of families who of MacAlpin who are not related to the noble royal MacAlpins. Um, so, but there could be some branches that sort of branched off early in their history. And I know I think the McWilliams are related to them. So yeah, it's but essentially I believe the origin of the story of the MacAlpins in their online sort of website is they claim descent from Alpin, the progenitor of the royal house, royal house of Alpin. So yeah, it's O'Hamel. Yeah, so O'Hamel is one of the names that a is found in the same area that Hamels from Scotland, and I think it's also an English name as well. Um, Migrated into. So the problem was is that you had during the early modern period you had Hamels coming across um, from Scotland, uh, planting Ulster, and they were mixing in to the very same areas that the O'Hamels were already existed. But primarily the O'Hamels are associated with the O'Neills. They're part of the Kinlowen, and they're found in South Tyrone and South Armagh, as the O'Neill family or the Kinlowen branch spread across southern Ulster in the early medieval period, about the 8th century. Um, they dropped off a few of their Hamels along the way. Um, so yeah, uh, so it's so you find it along those two sort of regions there that they exist. Burns. I have a full 30-minute burn video on my YouTube channel, and I also I think I have a short one on my TikTok. Um, there's a lot of burns. There's a lot of burns. Um, but obviously the most famous family is from Wicklow, down here. I remember they're related to the O'Tooles. There is another burn over here. Where are we going? Here that gets anglicised the same way. Um, but yeah, there's a lot of branches, There's a small branch up here from Carlingford who claim descent from the O'Byrnes here, but recent DNA has proven that they actually claim they came north with soldiers for Hugh O'Neill during the 9 Years' War, so during the uh, late 16th, early 17th century, but DNA has proven that's not true. Do you know anything about Neary? I know that it's a very common name in Connacht. It's a quite a common surname in Connacht, and it's found in small pockets in Leinster. Uh, but Connacht seems to be the area that it's primarily found. But I don't know their actual history. I don't know who they claim descent from. I'd have to um, I'd have to look into it a bit better. It's not one that I'm fully read up on. Like I say, I do tell people that there's sort of between 3,500 and 6,000 surnames. So I try to read as many as I can every night and learn more and learn more. But there's a lot of information to digest. I'm only one man, but uh, yeah. So any information on the toys? Yeah, toys are another. Yeah, actually, while I'm already here, are there an Efiaker family too? So they're related to the likes of the O'Dowds. So they're found in the same place that any of the Efiaker are found, which is the king group that owned Sligo. So they're found in Mayo, they're found in Roscommon. But the toys, yeah, they're another uh, family there. So um, Monaghan, yeah, Monaghans are found in Roscommon too, which is funny because I always thought you would think that being the surname Monaghan, they would be from Monaghan in Ulster, but no, they're found in Roscommon. They're associated with the O'Kellys through. So the O'Kellys come from, or this branch of O'Kellys anyway, come from the Ivina king group, and uh, they can um, they obviously they owned all of Roscommon before their push from the Ebruin uh, Brefna. So the Maddens come from Maddens. The Monahans come from there. Hello, hello. Yeah, Neely. Neely's got a couple of variations because, firstly, a branch of the O'Neills changed their name to Neely. Um, so after Hugh O'Neill's rebellion during the 9 Years' War, apparently, I've never found any documents to substantiate this, but apparently Queen Elizabeth during that war um, did ban the surname O'Neill. And much like the McGregor's surname was sort of banned during the 17th century, um, the obvious a century before the O'Neill surname had been banned. So Neely became one of the names that many O'Neills took um, uh, in um, in around that time. But it's also an abbreviation of McCongla, so which are very prevalent in Connacht and so in Mayo. Um, so they're in Mayo they're associated with the Fiacre, and I believe there's a Galway branch as well, but I can't remember who they could be from the Fiacre Ein, who are related, but they're distantly related from the southern region. So um, yeah, it's so it depends. I mean, if you're from Ulster and you're Neely, maybe you're more than likely a O'Neill, but and I'm sure there's probably Neely does sound like a name that would come across during the early modern period with uh, with the Scots. Uh, Anything on MacDonald? Yeah, so MacDonald's are Scottish surname. I don't really have a map for Scotland. They were Lords of the Isles, and then they have many branches. They descend from Smarly, who was a Hiberno Norse. So an Irish Viking would be a very simplified way of saying it. An overly simplified um, version of their history, who settled in the Isles and was a progeny of the MacDonalds, and from him you have the MacDonalds. And so the MacDonalds, both names are interchangeable, as well as um, the is the Scottish branch, but you also have Irish versions of MacDonald and O'Donnell, found in Fermanagh, found in Clare. These are unrelated Irish branches that sometimes get MacDonald put in it because Donald was a Gaelic and Gaelic name. Campbell, there's two Campbells. There's an Irish Campbell and a Scottish Campbell who are unrelated, but there's also Scottish Campbells in Ireland. So the Campbells of Scotland, I have a full video on my YouTube, but primarily they are originally DNA results are showing they are probably a Brythonic group who existed in Argyll of Scotland, and obviously they came to prominence with the rise of and support of Robert Bruce, and then a lot of Campbells will come across to Ulster during the early modern period with the plantations of Ulster, and they would obviously settle Ulster. But you also have Campbells in around Tyrone and Armagh who are of Irish origin. The McCowells used to anglicise their name to Campbell. So If you have Campbell lineages from South Ulster, more than likely or it's not more than likely because they both intermingled with each other, but you would be of Irish extract. So Gallagher, yeah, Gallagher's are associated with Tyrconnell or Donegal. They are related to O'Donnell. I do believe I have seen on websites that Gallagher is apparently a Norse Viking surname that you see on these rubbish websites, because it means like foreign soldier. But there was always foreign soldiers in Irish history, and foreign just meant from another part of the country. But regardless of what it actually means, a bit like my name is Michael, it doesn't mean that I am the right hand of God, as that is translation. So therefore, my children are descended from the right hand of God. Surnames exist the same way that they existed before. Names weren't given for a specific role. Very sometimes they were, but not always. Anyway, but DNA and DNA results and the annals prove Kinnell origin, so they are related to the O'Donnells. So yeah. Uh, um, I'm supposed to be related to the O'Neills. Is that right? And I mean, I would say most people in Ulster have an um, O'Neill origin. Um, they. But yeah, there's a lot of Kennelowen branches. What do you know about Fox or Murray? So Murray's, I'll start first from Murray because it has a lot to do with the Murphy surname that there you go. Someone's just put there. O'Murcada. Yeah, I did the Murphy Bees. The Murphy video is literally the last video I uploaded today. Give me a second, Samuel. I'll get to you in a second. Fox. Yeah, so Fox. There's actually a couple of families that anglicize their name from Fox. The most famous, I suppose, are the Oceanic from Meath. They claim descent from the Southern O'Neill, so the likes of so obviously they're a sub branch or collateral cousins to the Northern O'Neill, the O'Neills. Both groups would alternate the kingship of Ireland. They anglicised their name to Fox. Uh, but there's also the Shanahans of Clare, also anglicised there. So Clare, they're related to the O'Briens, effectively. They anglicised their name to Fox too. So it's anything that's sort of associated with the the Irish word for fox, the Irish surname. They anglicised the name to Fox. So, um, that's you get a lot of those Anglicizations, or say. Moran, I don't know where they all come from because there's four branches. There's four branches of Morans in in um, in Ireland. Um, I know that one of the Morans are a branch of the Ivina, so they could be found probably Roscommon and Galway. They were a branch of um, them. Then you have the McMorans of Maguire, not Maguire, from Fermanagh. There's another branch associated with that sort of area, and there's another one of Kildare and Offaly. But I know there's another branch, but I can't remember for the life of me where it's from. So Morans, there's four, but there is four branches of Morans in Ireland. So. Right, McBrien. So it's you have the O'Briens who obviously descend primarily from Brian Boru, the 10th century High King of Ireland, first real High King that united the entire Ireland in its entirety in 1011 for for 3 4 brief years. Well, I mean, technically united a few times, but the Ulster O'Neills kept rebelling. Um, anyway, uh, the so the family broke. Obviously, that's not where all O'Briens come from. You have Brian was an English surname too that came across later. You have a De Brian who came across during the Norman Conquest, and then you have O'Briens that can get anglicized to O'Brien. So obviously there's those branches, but the Mackie Breen, who are where the tends to be the Muck Brian instead of the O'Brien, were associated with the Burren and the Aran Islands. They often they were main competitors to the O'Briens, even though they descend from the same line, especially during the sort of 14th century. They were just knocking lumps out of the other O'Briens. If you look at the Mackie Breen history, they're often competing against the O'Briens. I think I can't remember if they lost the Aran Islands to the Flahertys or they took it from the Flahertys, but they were quite a naval family, so that's where the McBryans come from. So they're a cadet branch of the O'Briens, but were lords of the Burren and the Aran Islands primarily. Although they would you would find them all the way across the same where you would find O'Briens. You'll find McBryans. So yeah, Samuel. So I hope that helps. Hang on. The first Hembury in Ireland was Philip de Hentebridge, Lord of the Manor of Rath, County Dublin, 1250. He was part of the Norman military out of Stark Sea sent to control Ireland. There you go. I did not know that. De Himberga, de Hionborough in Gaelic and became anglicised to Hembury, 15th century. The family migrated to counties Kilkenny and Waterford. Very interesting, Gypsy. I did not know that. O'Driscolls. I have a video on the O'Driscolls on my TikTok. Head down to near the middle of it, but just to save you the hassle for now. So the O'Driscolls are from the Cork League. So in early medieval Ireland, so you're sort of talking the 6th, 7th, early 8th century, the Cork League were the most powerful kingdom in Munster. They ruled most of Munster. They actually technically ruled Usherga, modern day Kilkenny, but they didn't actually really rule it. They just used it as a satellite kingdom. They would sometimes put some of their own leaders in the various kingdoms within that. But yeah, so they were the most powerful family in Munster, and they ruled it before the rise of the Owenoctor, who would be the McCarthys, who would be the last sort of rulers of Munster. And the O'Driscolls were the main house, the main line of that, the eldest line, what you call it. Anyway, so they were the main line of that. There are other branches that sort of are they related to, like the Coffeys, the O'Learys. But anyway, with the rise of the Owenoctor, who would then become the McCarthys, O'Callaghan's, O'Keefe's, O'Donoghue's, O'Sullivan's, when that big clan group rose up, they forced the O'Driscolls. Now the O'Driscolls weren't originally, they were from a place called Rossaliver, I believe, down here, and they were forced south to Bantry, where they became pirates and traders. So yeah, they're Flaherty. I've, have I done a video on Flaherty? I can't even remember if I've done a video on Flaherty. No, it's Farrells have done. Farrells have done. That's why I always get them sort of mixed up, and I shouldn't because they're not even related, even slightly. But yeah, they're obviously from Galway. Have a long history in Galway, around Loch Corrib, Um, they sort of claim descent from the Ebrew and Sola, um, but you know, they, like most surnames, don't really appear till the 11th century. But yeah, um, Galway, quite a big, powerful naval family. Obviously, I spent most of the time fighting the 14 tribes of Galway. Um, so, hang on, let me see here. Uh, can you please tell me about Hester? I've not come across the name Hester, if I'm honest. I'm not aware of it being an anglicized version of a Irish surname. So I've not, yeah, I've not, unless it's, I'm trying to think what it may be a variation of. No, I'll look into it. I'll look into it. Let's say, it, 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 it sounds Norman. If I was going to say it sounds anything, it sounds Norman to me, but I don't know. Um, I will, Ryan. I will definitely look into that for you, and I will let you know. For the next live tomorrow, I'll have a look at that for you, because I always look up names that I've not come across. It's normally Norman names that I come across that I've not sort of heard of before. They're probably they're normally the names that I sort of struggle with, I suppose. Um, but yeah, McPhee. Yeah, McPhee's it's found in Scotland and Ireland. That's the problem with the name. It's found in both. It can be like anglicized to McAfee, and you know. So there's both Irish and uh, Scottish branches of it. So mostly it's found in Ulster though. But the problem is distinguishing the two branches between um, uh, planters coming across in the early modern period and sort of the native Irish. Uh, oh, I'm dumb, Aussie. Forgive me. No, it's all right. It's fine. Uh, um, yeah, the name McGregor was outlawed by James I. Are there any Irish surnames in which Whitehall actually forbade the use of surname upon reaching your adulthood? Uh, the only one is the one I've just mentioned a while ago, was O'Neill. Apparently, Queen Elizabeth I outlawed O'Neill during the 9 Years' War, much like the McGregors, but I never found any documents to substantiate that. But it is something that is mentioned quite a lot in some unreputable and some reputable sources, but they never cite the source. Um, Before I stick to my guns and say that it's 100% true, and before I ever do a video on it, I am going to keep looking for an actual source for that. But yes, Joshua, there is apparently the uh, surname O'Neill was one of those names that got outlawed. So yeah, it's I have often looked to see if there's been any others, um, but like I say, it's still jury's out. McMullen, yes. There's a few branches now. Obviously, McMullen can be a branch from Scotland. Um, the McMullens, I believe, are in Scotland, are associated in some way with the McDonalds of the Isles, but I don't know if it's a relationship or a working relationship, as in they were hereditary position, within the McDonald's. I will say if there's anyone really interested in Scotland, although my Scottish history is um, families are my weaker subject of the two. I only really know the Isles and the Border Reivers. I don't know all of them as well as I know the Irish ones. But a good friend of mine, Clint Edwards, Scottish Clans podcast. He has that podcast is on every format: YouTube, Spotify, and Facebook. Scottish Clans. He is an excellent source for anyone on uh, any information on Scottish history. Um, so yeah, just if you're wanting to really get into Scottish history, he would be a better one to to go for that. Anyway, but the Irish branches of McMullins. So you have since we're already talking about Roscommon. Um, um, well, where I say Roscommon, they're more Galway. So yeah, you have the McMullins of Galway, who are related distantly to the likes of the O'Connors, because they come from the E. Bruin king group. So they're probably the um, more widely dispersed family or widely known family. There are smaller families in the Kingdom of Brega as well, so that's another branch of them. And then there is the really small family in Antrim. So, not Antrim, Derry. Sorry, I'm there pointing to it. So, I yeah, Brega. I think there's 4 branches. I'm trying to remember where the other one is. Brega, Uberin, Derry. Oh, the Colbo. Sorry, so they're related to the McGuinnesses. Sorry. So that's the. I'm certain you're. I'm certain you're peppered with questions, but I'm curious about Armstrong. Yeah, I am peppered, as you can see. 800 people in here. Never mind all the ones on YouTube too. Kat, I need to dip out early because starting to feel under weather. No, Kat, it's a pleasure to have you here. We'll speak soon. I'm sure you know where I am. Hope you feel better soon. Thanks for coming in. Yeah, so Armstrong is now it's primarily Scottish. They're a Border Reaver family. So they were found on the borders of Scotland and England. Obviously, those borders were sort of flexy in those times, so it's a Scottish and English surname depending on how you want to really state that. Excuse me, because reavering culture was found on both sides of the border. So a lot of the families in Ulster primarily came across in the early modern period with the plantations of Ulster. So it can be that, but someone's streaming. But there is apparently the Trainer family apparently anglicised their name in the areas of Monaghan and Louth. Anglicised their name to Armstrong. They were an Irish family, apparently, but I've found no conclusive evidence. But most people claim it, so there can be a native Irish branch of Armstrong in this part of the world. So, yeah, it's primarily Scottish. Most I imagine would be of Scottish origin. There's certainly a bigger family than the Irish family, but the Trainer family in apparently did do that. So, what about Brown? My granny's name. Brown is English and Irish, so a lot of Irish families again anglicise their name to Brown if their Irish name had the word Brown in it for like so you'd have the McBreens, the O'Briens, they would all anglicise their name to Brown. But you also had Brown coming across from England, Browns coming across from England. one of the 14 tribes of Galway is a Brown family. And then you have, so in 1366 you have what is known as the Statutes of Kilkenny. So and the law was any Irishman living in the Pale. So the Pale is roughly from this line here, follow it all the way down where it says Tyrrell, the F in Fitzgerald's, R in Earls of Kildare, all the way down to M in Ormond, up here through the L of Kinsella. So this is the only part of the Ireland the English really ruled for many centuries. It was the only, and that even in that, those borders sort of waxed and waned. Very one stage during the Gaelic revival, they only really held the county of Dublin. But anyway, in 1366, the English had the law, the Statutes of Kilkenny, and all Irishmen living within that area that I've just highlighted, so all these counties here, had to change their name to a job title like butler or carpenter, candlestick maker, smith, and then or a colour like white, brown, which is what we're just talking about there, any other colour, or a town name like Chester or York, or so you will find a lot of these names exist because a lot of these families in this area were forced to change their name to one of those titles. So Brown has so many origin points, that's why it exists. 800 people on your TikTok asking about their surnames. Yeah, it gets a bit crazy. It does get a bit crazy on my TikTok. I'm not gonna lie. Yeah. So it's what is it about? What is that about Butler on the map? So they're going to be earlier. So the Butlers, the most famous branch of Butlers, because like it says, there are Irish people who took on the name Butler, but the most famous branch of Butler, I have a full video of them on my YouTube, 30-minute video, but primarily the most famous branch is the Butlers of Ormond, who came across in 1172 with King Richard II of England. And they were given lands in Tipperary. Primarily they held lands up in Upper Ormond, was sort of like their capital, as it were, but eventually they would own pretty much this belt here of Ireland, but they would own pockets of land all over, but this was their main area. Long-time rivals of the Fitzgeralds of Desmond. So hang on, right, let's have a look. Oh, sorry, everyone's been giving me gifts here, and I haven't thanked you because I've just been waffling. Just give me 2 seconds, chat, and I will get back to you in a second. So Courtney, Connor Caden, Neve Keenan, Sean Johnson, thank you very much for the roses. Andrew Carden, Denny Webb, and Candy, thank you so very much for the heart mace. D, thank you for all those roses. UA, Roy, thank you for all those roses. Thank you so very much. Victoria Smith, thank you very much for the rose. Samuel McBreen, thank you. Oh, Brian, sorry. Thank you so very much for all those roses. Cheryl, thank you for the rose. Mr. Morrison, thank you for all those roses. Veteran, thank you so very much for the flowers. Paul Reynolds for the rose. Dunks for the rose. Thank you very much. Emo Kim, welcome back. Thank you for the Thunder Hammer. Claymore, Izzo, Tiger, thank you so very much for those roses and for the ice cream. Phoenix, Wee Teddy, Sean, your favorite chef, Janice, sorry, thank you so very much for the rose. Izzo, thank you for the donuts. Wow, Mary, Katrina, Jack, Bear, Specialized Lena, Bogey Bandit, thank you so very much for all those roses. Kaza for the heart me, Carly for the heart me, Kaza for the finger heart, Matt McGuire for the heart me, Kirsty, thank you for the rose. Scott, thanks for the heart me. Just blessed with our rose. Lindlicker for the heart signal. Carly and Nick, thank you very much for the roast. Right. Okay, now let me get back into getting some of these names ticked off for you, because I know many of you have been asking here. So, just as their Stuart branches or Mackenzie branches. Stuart and Mackenzie tend to be Irish. McCoinach is the Gaelic version of Scottish. Sorry, McCoinach is a Scottish name. Um, the Gaelic symbol, you wouldn't get native Irish Mackenzies really, because the way it was anglicised from Gaelic wouldn't really happen in Irish. So most Mackenzies, I would say, are um, are Scottish, and same with Stuart. I'm not aware of any native Irish branches of those surnames. So I'm not saying no Irish people ever didn't change their name to that. Um, it's just um, it's just not common that it would be well documented. So um, Mahoney, yeah, and Mahoney can be found in a couple of places in um, in Ireland, but it's primarily associated with South Munster, um, Kinnamalky. So yeah, it's primarily found down in this region. So O'Cannons are an interesting family because they're one of the families that they've ruled Donegal before. So first things first, the O'Cannons probably have. There's a debate between the O'Clearys, whose surname dates from 916 AD, and the O'Cannons, whose is about 50 years later, 946 or something, according to the annals. So there's a debate whether the O'Cannons actually really have the oldest surname in Ireland. I'll probably do something on this and let people decide based on the evidence, because it's a wee bit of a debate. Even though the O'Clearys sort of claim the title online, but they were the earlier rulers of the of Donegal before they were sort of pushed out by the likes of the McDailys and the O'Donnells. It was the O'Donnells that pushed all the families out. So yeah, they're found from Tyrone and modern day Tyrone, modern day Donegal. They're found in this region. Um, I think they're a branch of the Lugduk, which were a kingdom up here. Can't really remember, but yeah, they were the original kings of Donegal. So yeah, it's is Owens Irish? Owens is a bit like Hughes, and someone else asked about Hughes. Owens and Hughes have the um, same etymology, in the sense that they came across with the Cambro Normans, so they're associated with uh, with Welsh sort of families, but a lot of Irish adopted it. So Hughes, first things first, Owen and Hughes were both adopted by branches of the O'Neills. I do have a video on the McHughes. They can be found around here. So branches of the O'Neills took those names. So even though the etymology of the name is Welsh, Irish people were taking on that name, and then there's also branches of the McKeowns who took on the name too, and branches of coins. So the coins are found down in Galway primarily. Well, it's sort of spelled as Kine, and then there's coins of Ulster too, Northern Ulster, so which is more anglicised to coin. So yeah, you have McKeown's taking the Owen surname, Coins taking the Owen surname, O'Neill's taking the Owen surname, and O'Neill's were taking the Hughes surname too. There are actually a lot of Hughes. Though there's branch of Hughes from Turhugh in Donegal. There's Hughes all along Roscommon, but I have a video on the Hughes family. Davis, I've already done O'Driscoll tonight, but I do have a video on my TikTok down near the bottom. um, so, could you explain the McCarthy Moors? Um, oh, you mean like? Oh, sorry, you've put a double O in. You're on about McCarthy Moor. So McCarthy Moor is the head branch of the McCarthys. Moor means like greater or big. Um, uh, but they are so they're the chiefly line. So you can see here McCarthy Moore and O'Sullivan Moore. So these are the head families of the clan, basically the most uh, noble lineage. Think of it like these O'Sullivan Moore and McCarthy Moore are the royal family, and these are all like second cousins, twice removed. Still from the same royal line, but just distantly related. Is probably the simplest way you can sort of break it down. So, um, uh, can you do the Scottish clan? My family is from the McQueen clan. The history is well, McQueen's Scottish and Irish. There's Irish McQueens and the Scottish McQueens. Obviously, the Scottish McQueens claim descent from the McSweeneys. I have a video on the McSweeneys on my YouTube channel, but the McSweeneys obviously can be found all over Ireland because they were hereditary Gallowglass soldiers, and they uh, came across Ireland in the sort of 13th century when they sided against Robert the Bruce, and they claim descent anyway from Amrahan, the Prince of Donegal, related to the O'Donnells. That was what they claim anyway. Um, so yeah, you have. I can't remember where I was going. I actually lost where McSweeney's. Yeah, so McQueen's. Yeah, so yeah, but the branch that stayed in Scotland, apparently, according to their own oral tradition, I suppose would be, is that they um, took on the name McQueen instead of McSween. So but in Ireland, McQueen is also a variation of Quinn, McCuin, and probably the most famous line is associated with Ivina, the O'Kellys down in Roscommon. So they that's where McQueen sort of comes from. Like I say, it could be Irish or Scottish. Uh, Evan Coyle, thank you so much for the gift on YouTube. Um, I You don't have to gift put a request in. I will get to will get to but I really do appreciate the gift. Um, can you explain the Coyle surname? Yeah. Actually, I don't know if you were speaking to uh, Finn, who was on here earlier. Finn McCool. It's a variation of McCool. It's primarily associated with Ulster, so you would often find the branches from like Donegal, um, and Tyrone are the areas where Coyle would sort of come from. Uh, because it comes from um, there's like a couple of unrelated families. Even the Doyles, the O'Dovegalls, would use. Let me start this again. So, in Old Irish, the D you see here in Irish words and Gaelic words, so Scottish words as well. So this in Old Irish would be O'Connell, not O'Donnell. So you would have uh, O'Dovegal, which would be then become Doyles, but branches of them would retain the old Gaelic version with the C. So they O'Cumgal, O'Cool, McCool. You see how the word breaks down and then becomes Coil as it gets anglicised. So there's and Cole as well. So it comes from a few branches. The MacCools of it in Ulster. Then you have the uh, O'Doyle's or Doyle, sorry, in Leinster, but it can be found primarily in up here too. So it's found all over Ulster primarily. It would just depend on where you are, where your family's from in Ulster, and which line you may descend from. So yeah, it's one of those names that just sort of comes from multiple unrelated branches. But if you want me to pick a branch, Evan, I'll happily pick a branch that sort of McLaughlin, please. Yeah, McLaughlin's got Irish and Scottish branches. So we'll start with the Scottish branch that came across in the early modern period into Ulster, settled primarily around Derry actually and Donegal. But you also have the main rivals to the O'Neills and their cousins was the McLaughlins of the Kinlowen and Tyrone or Tyrone. They were kings of Ulster for a while. Then you have the Mulochlins here that actually, this is an old variation. So it comes from Mael Shocknall, and then it was anglicised to Mulochlin, and then more recently in the sort of 19th century, it was re-anglicised to McLaughlin. So there's another branch there from the southern Enial. So they are distantly related to each other. We're the other McLaughlins from up here. Then you have the O'Loughlins in Clare, or in the Burren. So, and they're from King Group. I think they're from the Mod Rua King Group, so they're not related to the O'Briens. But yeah, they're associated with here. So you have, that's where Loughlin comes from. Um, uh, hang on. Am I reading that right? Is Antich Irish? Um, I'm going to say no, Lynn. I've never heard that name before. Never heard that before. I do apologise. I can have a look into it. Um, certainly, I'll certainly look into it. Um, did the Douglas clan originate in Ireland? No, but there will be Irish Douglases. But the actual clan that you're associating, um, uh, is a Border Reaver family that I believe are of Norman extract, not from thing. McLaughlin, I believe, from split from Scotland to McLaughlin and then Anglicised. So their origin story of the Scottish McLaughlins is that they are of Irish descent, a bit like the McNeils and McNeil's of Barra and some other families, McSweeney's. Most of those I would take with a pinch of salt. So there are, I think the one of the very few confirmed families of Irish descent are the Clan Donegal, which is actually the Fergusons, I believe. Clan Donegal, Fergusons are of are DNA evidence. So they claim Clan Donegal first claims descent from Royal Scottish family, but actually DNA results is kind of proving that they are a branch of the Kinlowen, the Irish royal family, Ulster royal family. But yeah, the McLaughlins. So I take with a pinch of salt. That sort of relationship. DNA is probably the only thing that's really going to prove or disprove that. I tracked back a few between the McLaughlins and another clan. Yeah, so actually the McLaughlins of Scotland did actually lead an assault on Derry in the I think it was like the 13th century, 12th, 13th, 14th, somewhere around there, medieval period anyway. But they did actually raid Derry. That's correct. Uh, thank you very much, Erica, for the flowers. Daniel for the flowers too. Thank you so very much. So interesting. Thank you. You're very welcome, Sam. Thank you for your questions. Patrick Maloney, Laurie, thank you so very much for the roses. Aaron, Labana, thank you for the love you so much and the tofu. Daniel for the family. Mary for the rose. Celtic Wolf for the rose. Chris, thank you for all those gifts of potato, finger heart, and love piggy. Just blessed, thank you for the rose. Chris, thanks for the rose. Sam McLaughlin, I didn't even see all those gifts. Wait, I think this is pre-recorded. Sam, I did not see all those gifts. Thank you so very much for all those roses. Naya, Angelica Anglem, thank you for the rose. Brian Divine, thank you for the rose. Angelica Anglem for the white rose. White Anne, thank you so much for the rose. Sam McLaughlin again. Jesus, my friend, you didn't have to do that, but thank you. Fran, Nick, Carly, thank you very much for the rose. Lint Liquor for the heart signal. Just bless for the rose. Scott Watkins. Hang on, I'll do Lynch in a second. Kian. Calm yourself. Matt McGuire for the heart me. Kaza for the finger heart. Carly for the heart me. Thank you so very much. Right. Lynch, before you go mad and one of the moderators kicks you out for spamming. And I've seen it here on a few on the TikTok too. So Lynch has 3, possibly 4 main origins. The first one is from the Dalriada up here in Antrim. If you see Lynch and Lindsay, they come from the same name, Oloinsach, so they come from the same branch. So you'll find Lynches and Lindsays often together side by side. So the Dalriada branch are from Antrim. Then you have another smaller branch who are from Fanad in Donegal. They're related to the Kinoconnell, so they're distant cousins to the O'Donnells. Excuse me. You can tell I've been talking for a while. So then you have one of the 14 tribes of Galway coming from the Lynch. Depending on what argument you want to go by, they claim more recently an Irish descent. Earlier records claim a Norman descent, but just because they claim it doesn't mean it's true for either argument. But they were one of the 14 tribes of Galway who were merchant families that did you catch that, Lynch? I don't know where that cut off. I don't know why my signal dropped. I don't know how right, let me get my TikTok. You skip McMahon's. No, sorry. Owen, I did spot it, and I will do it now. I just didn't want to. I wanted to calm Cian down before he got himself kicked out of the chat by the moderator. Why is that doing that? Right. Anyway, so the McMahons. There's 2 branches. Well, Wayne's already kind of filled in one, but there's actually 2 branches. So the first branch are the McMahons of Archella, which is a kingdom that spread mostly in the early medieval period up to Donegal, where it kind of took most of Tyrone, parts of Fermanagh, branched along here. So this branch were kings of or lords of Archella, and then Wayne is right. Another branch is part of the Dalcars, so they are distant cousins to like the McNamaras and the O'Briens, and they have ruled Corker-Baskin in County Clare. So they're the 2 sort of bigger branches of the families. But obviously, Mahon's quite a common surname in medieval Ireland, so it can have maybe more smaller branches. Chris Deering from County Galway. Deering, as far as I'm aware, is an English surname. I don't know of any Irish branches. But I will look into that. Laurie, thank you very much for the heart me and the signal. Um, Metal Dad, thank you for the roses. Mike McKinney, thank you for the sign language. Thanks very much. Um, uh, Tommy for the donut and the rose. Erica for the flowers. Daniel for the flowers. Patrick Malone, thank you for the roses. Laurie again for the rose. Aaron for the love you so much. I tell you, TikTok is so annoying. Yes, I am live. Won't be for much longer though. Losing my voice. I need it again for tomorrow. Um, O'Keefe's, yeah, I know someone was asking about O'Keefe's. O'Keefe's were lords in Duhallow, so they were uh, a branch of the Oanoctor, which they were ruled by the McCarthy McDonoughs, but they were distantly related to the likes of the McCarthys. Uh, Both my parents are adopted in Canada. I traced the family tree on both sides to Kerry, Ireland. Yeah, well, this is Kerry here. Probably the more famous families would be the Falveys, the O'Sheas, the Sweeneys, no Sweeneys, the Sullivans, the McCarthys, the O'Connells are probably the most, and then the Fitzgeralds are probably the most famous branches. O'Connor, there are a lot of O'Connors, right? I'm losing my voice here. So we'll make this one the last one, unless someone and Mike's name, Mike McKinney. I'll do you in a second as well. So O'Connor is there's actually I think like 7 unrelated branches of O'Connor. Probably the most famous are the O'Connors of the Bruin that broke off into the O'Connor Row, the O'Connor Don, and the O'Connor Sligo. They were the O'Connor Don were kings of Connacht. So you have the likes of Rua O'Cruaha, who was High King of Ireland during the Norman invasion of Ireland. You have O'Connors from Antrim, who are, I believe, a branch of the Kill Owen, so they're related to the O'Neills apparently in their origin. You have O'Connors from Clare, from the Burren, so they are. I think they're related to the O'Briens, but they're from the Burren, so they could be Modrua, part of the Modrua. But O'Connors, you have the O'Connor Kerry, who I have a video on. They're from a tribal group called the Kiera Lucra, and they were quite an interesting family because they were a very small family, but they managed to be quite powerful because they owned the way into the River Shannon, which obviously goes all the way up here. So then you have the O'Connor Failey. Here you go, the O'Connor Failey. So they were powerful lords in the sort of 13th century. So yeah, there's quite a lot of O'Connors that are found in Ireland. Mike McKinney is there's a variation, multiple variations of McKinney. It comes from, so you have McKinnons, anglicised their name to McKinney. You then have McKenners that anglicised their name to McKinney as well. Primarily the Irish lines tend to come from Meath and South Ulster, so part of the Airchella, and part of the Southern Neil. So my mother, so that these are the Southern Neil were related to the O'Neills as well. So they're defined in those sort of 2 areas. My mother was a O'Connor Kerry blood, Carrickaford Castle. Well, there is a video on the O'Kerry on my YouTube and TikTok. Can you do O'Farrell? Can you mention the O'Farrells? Yeah, Frankie Clips is live or doing his DMZ. Anyway, yeah, Forest, I've done a video on them, but they're originally from Leitrim. They pushed down and they became rulers of Longford. They were actually ruled by the O'Rourke's first, but they broke free in the 11th, 12th century. Right, I'm going to have to end it there. I've been on my live for 2 hours now, over 2 hours, and I'm losing my voice and I won't be able to speak till tomorrow. So if it didn't get you through to you tonight, I'm sorry. Obviously, I go through 100 names a night or so many. So Chi Walker, thank you so very much for the gift. Laurie Bose for the rainbow. Tyler McGoldrick, thank you for the rose. I will try and get to you. If I don't get you tonight, I'll try and get you tomorrow. But please, just if you're not sure, check. I've got hundreds of videos, not hundreds, but a lot of videos of family surnames on my TikTok and YouTube. Check them out. Any questions, any requests, put them in the comment section. And if not, I'll see you tomorrow. So have a great night. Thanks very much for tuning in. Slán go fóill. And now time for right. Hi YouTube. Give me 2 minutes for you. I can't shut them both at the same time. Thanks a million. Look forward to your next live. Yeah, tomorrow. I'll do it again tomorrow. It's normally by 10:30 Dublin time, evening, 22:30 till around now. So it should be 10, but I'm always late. So just come, probably aim for 22:30. But until then, thanks very much, Wayne, for tuning in. Thank you, Anthony. Thank you, Owen. Thank you, Kian, and all the others, all these who tuned in today. All 177 of you. Thanks so very much. I'll speak to you soon. Slán go fóill.